right, guys, we're back, and we're switching gears to football, and I have a special guest. This is my roommate, Jake.
How you guys doing?
And as I mentioned before, he knows a ton about football, and the football season is starting very soon, and so I'm excited to watch all the games with him. It's only like 6 days, right?
Yeah.
5 or 6 days?
September 10th.
September 10th. All right, and I think there's going to be some very interesting teams to watch in the 2020 season. I have a list of 4 teams. I have the Browns, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Cowboys, and the Ravens. So before we kind of get in going over why I think they're interesting, do you have any more that we should keep an eye on?
I would just say one that I think can be good is the Arizona Cardinals. We can get into depth on that later, but they definitely have a young team, new acquisition in DeAndre Hopkins, and they have a bright future.
All right, I'm definitely down to talk about Arizona. But let's start with the Browns. I think the biggest things that was holding the Browns back last year was their expectations. They got this team, they got all this talent around them, and I heard Super Bowl, contenders, and that's really, really unfair when they had a struggling offensive line and a second-year quarterback. And so I think the biggest thing for the Browns going into this season is way lower expectations, because all I've been hearing from the media now is maybe playoffs, probably not, talented. They did draft an offensive lineman. They got the offensive lineman from the Titans. And I've been seeing a lot of videos of Baker Mayfield over quarantine, working out on his body, getting in a lot better shape. And so that's why I think the Browns could be a very interesting team to watch.
And then I think adding on to that team is just really, really hungry. I mean, Baker Mayfield, I like him so much because of his competitive factor. He's a really competitive guy, and he wants to win. And Odell is also one of my favorite players in the game right now. And he was one of the best receivers in the league for, his rookie year and so on. He got injured a little bit, and last year was an off year. But I think one of the biggest things is that they're hungry and they want to win. And another thing is they have Kevin Stefanski now on their coaching staff, and he's more offensive minded, which will help Baker a lot. Because I remember Rex Ryan said that Baker just didn't have enough checkdowns last year, and they were trying to throw it deep every play. And I think that has to do with how high their expectations were. They just thought that they could kind of do anything. But now when they're a year in the system and they're kind of working together, I hope their chemistry plays out and they could be a good football team.
I think some of the biggest factors why the Browns did bad, one, Odell had that surgery, so he was injured last year. 2, I think Baker Mayfield this year is kind of going to come back down to earth. I think after having a really successful rookie year, he just thought of himself way higher than he actually was, pushing the ball downfield on top of not having a check down. So even if he did, I think he was just trying to big arm throws, made a ton of interceptions, really bad calls. And every Browns game I watched, I felt like every single play Baker was running for his life most of the time. Not only are these routes taking a long time to develop, but the line's not holding up. I felt like it was like a college, Baker's scrambling, trying to make a play almost every time. There was hardly ever any pre-snap reads, 1, 2, 3, boom, the ball's there. So I think a lot of those problems have been fixed, either with time, mentality, injuries. And so I'm really excited to watch the Browns this year.
I agree.
Do you have any predictions on their division?
Shoot, I mean, Ravens definitely at the top. Bengals are still up in the air. They got Joe Burrow, hopefully AJ Green. I don't think that they'll be able to do anything. I think that Browns, if they play well, they could be the second best team in that division. Wild card, I don't know. Only time will tell, but definitely.
There is another playoff spot this year.
Yeah, true.
And then Big Ben is back too. But yeah, Joe Burrow, the Vegas odds 5 wins on the season. I'm taking the under on that. I don't know about that. All right, the team I think everyone's looking forward to watching, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I wanted to bring up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because very similarly to the team we just talked about, the Cleveland Browns, a ton of accumulated talent that has never played together before coming together. And where I think this is different than the Browns is the Browns had all this talent and a first-year head coach and a second-year quarterback. Now they have the GOAT, and they have an amazing coach.
They do.
And so I'm going to go on a limb and start to say that this is a beginning of a super team. I put them right up I think they're slightly less talented on offense than the Chiefs are. But I can't really think of another team, maybe besides the Cowboys, that have more offensive firepower than that.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the signing of Leonard Fournette, this team is just scary because Jameis still threw for 30 touchdowns and over 4,000 yards last year. Bruce Arians is a really good head coach, has a really good scheme. It's just really complicated. So now that there's Tom Brady, a veteran quarterback, the GOAT, like he's smart, so he knows how to read these plays. And with Godwin, Mike Evans pushing down the field, that's going to be open. But now with the signing of Fournette, they're going to have to load the box
and
too.
Gronk and OJ Howard.
Exactly. And Gronk, if Gronk could just be a smidgen of what he once was, then he's still going to be a really productive player.
I don't know how much he's going to miss, because I know Gronk had a lot of injuries, and taking the year off might actually like help him in this scenario. And they drafted a running back out of the 3rd round that is a receiving threat. Their defense in the last like 5 or 6 games were top 5, top 10 defense. And then the statistic with throwing an interception, they're always working with a short field. A pick 6 goes against the defense. Jameis had 6 of those.
Exactly.
And so where I think the Buccaneers offense is really good, they have the leading tackler, sack leader, a great defensive line, an aging but still good Ndamukong Suh, an improving secondary, and their front 7's just scary.
Yeah.
Okay. Bucks or Saints?
Saints are a good team. That one is really hard. I feel like it'll really just come down to those matchups that really separates the two teams. I could see it going 1-1, but I also have to look at the Bucks play a little bit, because like Jackson was saying, they have a lot of firepower, so we'll tell in the first few games if they actually know how to play together.
Right. I do think the Buccaneers are a better team than the Saints. I have the Saints by a touchdown in the first game, with no OTAs, no preseason games, not a lot of time to work together. That's asking a lot for a lot of new players with a new quarterback to come in. And football's a lot different with basketball. You can kind of fart around, figure things out for like a quarter and still kind of be in it. Football, there's only you get 8 to 12 possessions, maybe less than that. You really don't have that much room for error. So as they're figuring out, which they would have done the preseason games, they're doing against a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
So Breeze didn't lose anyone. Sean Payton and Drew Brees have been working together forever. So I think the Bucks are a better team. I do have the Saints. All right, the Cowboys. We are talking about teams with a lot of talent this year, and they only added more. Drafting CeeDee Lamb in the first round.
Big pick.
Huge.
Steal. It was 16, right?
That's 16 or 17. I had no. He's wearing the 88.
Yeah.
Michael Irvin, but this might be their best receiving core, minus tight ends, because they did lose Jason Witten. They have a faster, I think last year he was a rookie. But with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb, with Zeke Elliott in a line.
That's scary.
I feel like we say this every single year about the Cowboys, though. I feel like they always have too much talent they know what to do with, and the Cowboys always beat the Cowboys. And so another acquisition they're looking for right now, I have this written down, is Earl Thomas. He got released by the Ravens. He just got signed big, and the Ravens said, "You're too much of a problem. We don't even want you." And the Cowboys are the number 1 spot for them right now. I don't think that would be good at all.
You think it would blow it up?
I think what the Cowboys need is they always search for more and more and more and more talent, and they just completely ignore team chemistry, locker room. When they melt down, they already have a lot of people with big personalities. Dak is controlling. He's a very good leader, can control the locker room, doesn't have his reins in on Zeke yet. But I think adding Earl Thomas, even though it would strengthen up their secondary, I think for a fit for the team, when the Cowboys already have this much talent, it's only going to hurt them. And we don't know the behind the scenes, because the Ravens paid him a lot of money and just dumped him. So we don't know what happened.
I think he got into a fight with Chuck Clark, or I think that's his name, but he's basically the other safety on the team. And they got into a fist fight, and they released Earl Thomas, so it must have been his doing. But I mean, hopefully he plays well somewhere, because he's still one of the best safeties in the game.
That's just really hard to see when you see someone's off the field actions get in the way. I mean, Antonio Brown, who knows? The Ravens were thinking about picking him up. Josh Gordon just got re-signed by the Seahawks. Earl Thomas floating around. It's very sad. Mike McCarthy McCarthy, what do you think about him in the new system working with Dallas?
So Mike McCarthy, obviously he had his success with the Packers, and I'm sure you can argue whether that was Rodgers or McCarthy, but regardless, the coaching change is good for the Cowboys. I mean, Jason Garrett, how good of a head coach is he? Not very. Can he be a good specialist coach or a quarterback coach? I think so, and I think he got signed by the Giants as offensive coordinator, but Mike McCarthy just provides something new for the Cowboys that they haven't had in a long time. Right. So
they kept Kellen Moore. He's gonna be the second year offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. I think Mike McCarthy is gonna guide him a little bit more. Cowboys were super predictable last year. They ran the ball on the first down, maybe like a play action second. Like the games felt really competitive, and we said we have more talent than you do. Try and stop us.
Yeah,
I think Mike McCarthy is gonna put in a lot more schemes, a lot more. Just kind of like different looks for other teams that it's going to be really successful. And Mike McCarthy never had this much talent in Green Bay ever. He never surrounded Aaron Rodgers with a good offense. It was more run-centric and defense. So I'm really excited. I think they're going to fit really well together. And he's gone on record saying he loves Dak. So even though they have Andy Dalton as a backup, which is the best backup
I agree.
in the NFL, I see the Cowboys doing really well. I do think this is a year they're going to win their division. I think the Eagles really didn't make enough, and I think they're gonna have a little bit of confusion with adding Jalen Hurts because I've been seeing he's been doing really well, and I don't think that's always good for a starting quarterback to have a really good backup quarterback.
Yeah, especially with Jalen Hurts because he has so much hype around him, and they said that they want to do a 2-quarterback system.
Never works.
Saw that like the Heisman formation, but I don't know. They would really have to devise something good. I mean, at the same time, Doug Peterson, he did help devise the Philly special, so if he has something in plan for that could be good, but every year that's the worst division in football.
Right.
So it's like a shame that the Cowboys can't win it, especially with all their talent.
Right, yeah. Washington football team are going to be bad. Giants are terrible. But yeah, if I could see the Eagles using Jalen Hurts similar to Taysom Hill as the Saints, just some package plays. He's very physical, and they love him in the locker room already. So I think it was a really good pickup. I think it could have some unintentional consequences, but we'll see. The next team we're going to look at is the Ravens. And what I wanted to bring up about the Ravens is, like I talked about earlier with the Milwaukee Bucks, amazing in the regular season, fizzle out in the playoffs. Bucks 3 years in a row if they can't get it done against the Heat. Ravens, this is 2 years in a row where they had an amazing run with Lamar Jackson at the end of the 2 years ago. Lost in the first round, had an incredible MVP season, 14-2
or 13-3.
13-3, amazing. It was pretty much everyone was saying this is the best team in football.
Yeah.
And pretty much got embarrassed by the the Titans in the first round, or their first game. So what do you think? What do you think they need to change? Do you think they can turn around in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes with experience. It was still a pretty young team, and when Lamar, obviously how good he is, but it was only his second year, and he has a lot to learn. I think one of the things he was saying, he was compared to Mahomes, and he really wanted to work on his footwork and his arm strength. And Lamar's a guy that's going to grind every time until he gets better, and you really want that as part of your organization. So I think this year they're going to be another one of the top teams in football, especially because they drafted J.K. Dobbins as well.
Yes.
So their run offense is just going to be unreal. Marquise Brown, right? Hollywood Brown. Yep. He put on 30 pounds
of muscle.
Yeah. And they've been working together a lot, him and Lamar. So they could have a really solid pairing there. And they drafted Patrick Queen on defense. So once they build that up, that might be able to help them stop the run game that they got demolished by when they played the Titans.
Right. I think a big factor for the Ravens, they have all the talent. They have their quarterback, Mark Ingram. Their culture was so amazing. All the post-game interviews with Mark Ingram hyping up Action Jackson, the best has ever done. They just had fun playing football. The Ravens need to keep that. They can't let the media in this narrative of them choking in the playoffs affect them. They need to know how good they are, what they can do. They need to stay focused. They need to keep having fun because they're fun to watch. If they start taking it too seriously, I think it's going to take their edge away a little bit.
I agree. And what made them so good was, like Jackson was saying, they're fun to watch and they're dynamic. When you have that many running options and motions and speed, I mean, Marquise Brown, one of the fastest players in the league, Lamar Jackson, one of the fastest, most elusive players in the league, you can do a lot with that offense, and that makes them not only fun to watch but successful. So hopefully they can continue that dynamicness. I'm not sure if that's a word, but if they could keep that energy up and just a lot of confusion on all of their plays, they'll be a successful offense for a long time.
They're the most dynamic team where I can see where they can go 3 tight ends, ground and pound, and then spread you out and just have people streaking down the field and all these lanes for Lamar to throw and run. It's really fun to watch the Ravens, and they lay it on people. They don't take their foot off the gas. All right, so we brought up another team. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but the Arizona Cardinals are super interesting to me. And my bold prediction is Kyler Murray is going to be the second-year starting quarterback in a row to win the MVP.
You think so?
I think so. I think watching Kyler Murray's highlights from last year, he blew me away with what he was able to do, like how poised he was, the throws he was making. His arm is way stronger than I thought it was, and he's a lot more shifty than I thought he was. And then also what I didn't see in Oklahoma, which I saw in the NFL, is he was sliding, he was getting down, he wasn't taking big hits. He reminds me of a little bit of shiftier Russell Wilson. He gives me those vibes of not taking big hits, big arm power, make plays out of the pocket, runs only when you need to, because he is pass first. And watching a lot of these Cardinal games, really frustrating to watch. They took the 49ers, they gave them 2 close games. Yeah. Very close to beating the Chargers, very close to beating. It said every single one of their losses, very close, very close, very close. The addition of DeAndre Hopkins, and they're beefing up the line a little bit, that 3rd and 4, when they're in the red zone, that field goal might be a touchdown. That 3rd and 4, you have that security receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald.
Christian Kirk, too.
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Watching the Lions with Calvin Johnson for all those years, Calvin Johnson's impact on the game, I think, was more so when he didn't catch the ball, when he had a corner, a safety, and a linebacker shaded on him, letting all these other Matthew Stafford to throw for 5,000 yards a season. So Kyler Murray not having that, but now I think he's going to, one, have that receiver to look down to. DeAndre Hopkins is going to get his numbers because he's that good. But also everyone else is going to get elevated. They fixed that left tackle problem that they had last year, and so I agree with Jake. The Cardinals are a very interesting team to watch.
And they also have Kenyon Drake, who was really, really good for them last year, and I believe Chase Edmonds as well. They're kind of like a scat back situation, but with Kyler Murray, like Jackson was saying, he's dynamic and he's almost like Russell Wilson, but he's going to get better each year, and especially with Cliff Kingsbury as well, because that was his first year as head coach last year. And when you look at how close they were a lot of their games, and you look at their team, you say, wow, maybe they didn't have the best players, but they could play some football. So now that their
offensive schemes were impressive.
Yeah, and especially Larry Fitzgerald is one of my favorite players. Him in the locker room, and now him and DeAndre, and they can help Kyler out. It's a good situation for him. I don't know what the record will be this season, but if not this season, for the years to come, they're a team to watch.
They are in a very tough division with the Seahawks and 49ers and Chargers.
Rams.
And Rams. That is not an easy division. This is the opposite problem that the Cowboys have. What do you think about my MVP prediction, Kyler Murray?
He has potential, so that's why it's really intriguing to me. I don't know if I could give him that yet personally, just because I think he's a good player, but they're gonna need a really, really good record. He might, maybe a most improved player. Or
if they make the playoffs, he's winning MVP. And this is my bold prediction. It's not who I'm picking. This is what I'm going out on a limb. So if it happens, you heard it here first, September 5th, 2020. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me,
Thanks
Jake.
for having me.
Everyone, I love this guy. He knows so much. All these stats, a lot of football stuff. We talk all the time. Everything I come to you, I learned from Jake, a lot of it. That's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and comment down below what you want to hear about next, whether you agree, disagree with any of the opinions we gave, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Make sure you subscribe.